Welcome back to the 10th annual Halloween special. I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode, which was Jason X. It just made sense. It's a 10th annual Halloween special talking about the 10th Jason movie in space. It had to happen. I had a good time with that. I hope you guys did too. Let's talk about the new Hellraiser, directed by David Bruckner, who just came off of the very good film The Night House. In this 2022 update, a young woman struggling with addiction comes into possession of an ancient puzzle box, unaware that its purpose is to summon the Cenobites. So I just got back from Fantastic Fest in Austin, Texas, and if you don't know anything about Fantastic Fest, every single year, they have 2 secret screenings. You don't know what the movie is, you just fill into the theater and hope it's going to be something really cool. And this year they did Werewolf by Night, the new Marvel TV special, and Hellraiser. So I feel very fortunate that I'm one of the few people who got to see this film in a theater since it's going straight to Hulu. By the way, what is it with Hulu lately? Why is Disney putting movies like Prey and Hellraiser on a streaming service? These movies should be in theaters. Prey would have killed at the box office. I don't understand what's going on. It's crazy. I really like Clive Barker's first Hellraiser movie. I think it's an incredible horror film and one that has stood the test of time. It's not necessarily considered the classic that a film like, say, Halloween is, or even A Nightmare on Elm Street, or The Exorcist, but it's definitely planted a flag in horror as one of the more important films of the genre. And I think we've gone beyond being tired of remakes and reboots. That's like a given. Now we're tired of even having to talk about how we're tired of it. It's just this endless cycle of people being very tired, which is why I'm happy to report that this film isn't by any means a shot-for-shot or beat-for-beat recreation of the 1987 film. It has Pinhead, or the Hell Priest, and many other Cenobites, and new characters, and of course the puzzle box, but for the most part, it's a new movie. Let's get the positives out of the way first. I think Jamie Clayton is a damn good Pinhead. She's really fucking great in this movie, and quite intimidating. At the Q&A, she talked about how she's had a really hard time finding roles. And so when she got this role, she didn't take it for granted. She really dove in, and she's awesome in the film. In fact, she might be my favorite part of the whole movie. Ben Lovett's score is also really good. It does use some pieces of Christopher Young's original themes. And I think Odessa is really good as the lead character, Riley. She has a big challenge on her shoulders as an actress, and not just because she's the lead of a new Hellraiser movie, and there's a lot of pressure that comes with that, but she has a character that you wouldn't exactly define as likable. She doesn't get a lot of opportunities to do things that endear the audience to her character. She's a recovering addict who stumbles across the puzzle box because her and her boyfriend that she met in rehab steal it. And her relationship with her brother, who she's rooming with, isn't really going that well either. And since the puzzle box has a habit of stabbing people when they play with it, she of course gets cut. She allows other people to get cut, and sometimes you're just thinking to yourself, should I really be rooting for this person? Sure, I felt for Kirsty in the original film. She didn't deserve half the shit that was coming her way in that movie. But for the most part, Clive Barker, as well as the Hellraiser movies, tends to have very broken characters. People who aren't exactly upstanding citizens of society. It's kind of a staple of a lot of his work. You watch people suffer. And not just because the Cenobites love to torture people and don't really differentiate between pain and pleasure, but because their lives are also falling apart. In this film, we follow Riley, and she just wants to find her brother who disappeared after touching the puzzle box. But beyond that, she's a very broken person. But I think Bruckner and his writers, who also worked on The Night House with him, pull it off and make Riley a very interesting character. The film is also pretty gory. It's not really as gory as it could be, though. I wouldn't say it's gratuitous, but there is sort of a strange expectation when I watch a Hellraiser movie for it to be a little gratuitous. And there's a very strange boundary there that you have to be careful with crossing, because sometimes it can get funny or over the top when the blood and the gore is just so unrealistic that it just takes you out of the experience. But that's kind of the point of the Cenobites. They make people into things and make their bodies and skin do things that are just really fucked up. And it goes beyond what you would expect out of like a torture porn movie, and there's something deeper about it and far more violating. That's what I love about the Hellraiser films, at least the good ones. And this film kind of scratches the surface of that for me. It was one of the more disappointing aspects of the film. I thought that it actually could have been pushed farther and be darker and even gorier. It's not exactly a film that I would call scary. It's more of a film that I would just call unsettling. And I like that. I like when horror doesn't try to shove jump scares at you and tries to make you feel a little uncomfortable, and Hellraiser does that fairly successfully. The supporting cast, though, I must say, didn't really bring me into the film all that much. Their characters were pretty weak. There's some interesting developments toward the third act that made other things that happened earlier have a whole different meaning that I think improved the film for me a little bit. But once you get to that point, I was sort of detached from some of these characters already, but that thing that happens made it a little more interesting, I think. The production design here is incredible. Some of the sets are amazing. There's a lot of moving walls and shifting corridors. I imagine some of it was perhaps CG, but a lot of it looked like they were doing it practically in camera. We kind of saw a hint of that in the Night House with the shifting walls that were turning into shapes, and so here it feels like a natural evolution of things that Bruckner has already done. But I will say strangely that I felt that the Night House, and perhaps even the Ritual, was directed with more skill. There's a lot of scenes here that do feel kind of like basic coverage, which is surprising considering the budget behind the film. And at times I was wondering why more wasn't being done behind the camera to really maximize the potential of every scene. But nitpicks like that aside, I really enjoyed the new Hellraiser movie because it is clearly made by a creative team, both behind the camera and in front of it, that care about this source material and are trying to make the best film they can. This is not about money. This isn't a cash grab. All the people involved with this movie really gave a shit. And you can tell because the characters feel Barker-esque. Pinhead, or the Hell Priest, is great. Jamie Clayton is wonderful. Some of the other Cenobites, including the Chatterer, are great to see back. And I like the fact that leather isn't exactly involved anymore. It kind of seems like they have taken their own flesh and made their skin into clothing. It was really creepy, and they did a great job with all that. So even though I do think Hellraiser could have been better, I would definitely recommend seeing it, especially if you're a fan of horror. This is such a great year for horror. 2022 is going to be one of those years people talk about when it comes to horror. And if they do continue to make Hellraiser films with this creative team, I would like to see what else they do next. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Look forward to more videos in the 10th annual Halloween special coming your way very soon. If you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.